Good evening, this is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pio Tiveros. Should the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board regulate Uber, GrabTaxi, EasyTaxi, and other similar transportation services? That's our big question tonight. Tonight we have with us Danielle Torres, Country Manager of EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, Managing Director of GrabTaxi, and Attorney Bong Sunday, President of the Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. We did invite the LTFRB, three of them in fact, including Winston Hines, but they all declined due to a variety of reasons. We also invited a representative from Uber, and we're waiting to hear from them. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for being here.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us here.
How do you feel sitting together?
This wouldn't be the first time that Bong and I sat together, so we're pretty comfortable with it.
Taxi operators have nothing against Easy and Grab.
Yeah.
Only against?
Well, the use of Uber, its use of private vehicles to ferry passengers.
Okay.
Both Easy and Grab, they both use franchised vehicles to connect passengers with vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's begin with this first. Now, how can anyone get a ride on EasyTaxi and GrabTaxi?
Go ahead.
It's very simple. You go to the App Store or Google Play, and in your smartphone, either an iPhone, an Android phone, or a Windows phone, and look for EasyTaxi and press download, and you can download it for free.
Okay. Then how long does it take before somebody can get a cab?
You just have to sign up. You just have to put your basic information, name, email, and phone number. And then the app automatically will locate you. You just pretty much put a reference on the location that you are, and you just press call a taxi.
Yeah.
So how many minutes before somebody can get a taxi? What is the time range?
It usually depends. It depends on, it's a supply-demand problem all the time, or an issue all the time. But with network systems like EasyTaxi or GrabTaxi, it depends on how many taxis are within the vicinity of where you ask where you ask to be picked up.
Yeah.
So if there's liquidity, so that means there's a lot of taxis. It can be as short as a minute, but sometimes it could take maybe 10 minutes for a taxi to arrive.
Okay, so you have a fleet of franchised vehicles.
We don't have a fleet. We work with
You don't have a
fleets.
fleet.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
We work with the existing taxi operators. So there's around, they say, 500 taxi fleets in Metro Manila.
Okay.
There's around 25,000 taxis operating in Metro Manila. And we partner with these fleet operators who have accredited franchises from the LTFRB.
Okay, but none of them are the ones involved in crime, for example. I'm sure you've heard of all those incidents already, di ba?
Correct. So we have a strict recruiting process with the drivers. We make sure that they have barangay clearance. We make sure that their licenses are not yet expired. We work with the fleet operators, the managers of the fleet, to check on the history of the driver. So they should be paying their boundaries.
So kasama kayo sa recruitment ng driver?
Yes. We select the drivers.
Yeah.
Not all the drivers are given phones. We also treat the phone kasi as a form of discipline for the driver. So if you behave well, you'll be given a phone in which you can earn more income from. That's how GrabTaxi.
Has there ever been a complaint sa inyo?
To be honest,
if any of your drivers, any of your vehicles, for any reason whatsoever?
To be honest, there has. We've received maybe 4 incidences, and we're very transparent about that. It's all on social media.
Yeah. What can you tell us? Okay, in a while. No, let's go back to that. Yung mga complaints. For you, Ms. Torres, so people can very easily get a cab. You work with. Similar to their
the same system.
Arrangement,
Yes.
same system. Okay,
Yeah.
so you also help in the recruitment of the drivers?
Definitely.
You go through that?
So, to add what Brian said, we definitely, the importance of the partnership that we have with operators is that we get all their intelligence in the sense of the industry. They know the industry very well. They have a lot of experience with taxi drivers, so what we get from them are the best drivers possible, so we can offer the best service.
Have there been any complaints against any of your drivers or about any of your
minor
vehicles?
complaints, mostly. Minor complaints.
What do you mean by minor complaints?
Sometimes, let's say we have a special promo and the driver didn't find out about it, and he charged the booking fee that he wasn't supposed to charge. Things like this are very common, but we haven't had any major.
When you say major, like a driver
being aggressive or
hold up or shooting a passenger or wala namang ganun.
Wala, nothing.
Thank God, or else you're in trouble. Brian, you were saying that there were at least 4 complaints. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there are 4 complaints that I was personally involved in helping resolve, and these range from passengers thinking na modus operandi sila with the spray.
Like how? Bakit na modus operandi?
Nahilo sila during the journey.
Okay.
But what we do, we have a very strict policy to really investigate afterwards. Kasi ang hirap nung sabi-sabi.
Yes,
so
of course.
what we did is we called the taxis in immediately after the incident. We call the taxis in, we make sure we look at the taxi, we even involve the police to assess the taxi and really investigate what happened. We called the other passengers that driver picked up on the same day to see if there were similar complaints. And in all 4 cases, wala. Nothing. There was no foul play involved on the driver's side. And
you're sure?
Very sure.
You're very sure.
Because even the passengers who eventually went to the hospital to have themselves checked, the doctor said it was just panic attacks.
Panic attack. Okay. Hindi sa nahilo dahil hindi pa siya kumain.
It's very dangerous because what a lot of people see in the news, sensationalized, are taxi drivers attacking passengers. But in reality, if you talk to the drivers, and we talk to the drivers...
There are more drivers that are attacked
by passengers.
Because they don't want to...
No. Like, people talk about passengers getting hauled up by drivers. But there are actually more drivers that are held up by people who, in the guise of being passengers, but actually are hold uppers.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you think about it, drivers are carrying phones all the time, so that's already
becomes attractive for people with bad intentions.
Okay. But would you agree that your business, I guess, is what? Is it malibang sa being flourishing, or you're quite successful because people have this trauma about the regular taxis?
I think our vision and mission here is to improve the transportation system, right? And I think people already had, for one taxi driver that did something, it cannot spread out to a lot of people, and then people start getting the concept that maybe riding a cab at night is dangerous. But in some way, I think this type of applications kind of change the image of the driver, right? By once you request a ride and you get all the information of the taxi driver, even a picture of his face, then there's a very human connection between the taxi driver and the passenger. You already know his name, so you can just say, "Hello, sir."
Yes,
and Pia, sometimes we think it's unfair then on the part of taxi drivers, because what's highlighted are bad things that are picked up by media. But the good things that are done by taxi drivers,
those are picked up by media also.
Yeah, but not all. They're not highlighted as much as the bad occurrences. And let's keep in mind, there are 27,000 taxis ferrying passengers every day. And, well, aside from 27,000 passengers, I think there are around 7,000 colorum vehicles, in cars in the guise of being taxis, which are not which does not possess franchises also, which are also ferrying passengers. So it's very hard to attribute wrongdoing immediately to franchised vehicles, because these wrongdoings might be attributable to the colorums operating.
Yes.
Now,
Colorum only?
well, I cannot. We cannot say na yung mga taxi drivers ng franchised vehicles are not doing it also. But the thing is, the operator could be identified immediately. For example, like my taxi, basic taxi, we own a big fleet. So if my driver does something wrong to the passenger, the liability is on my company. So madali kaming makita, madali kaming puntahan. So definitely big taxi companies like us, we don't tolerate wrongdoings from drivers. Because the company will be answerable for it.
Yeah. There was a hearing on Monday, right? The LTFRB for LTFRB to regulate these taxi services. Should these be regulated?
Meaning Uber.
Uber.
Yes.
Because they are not.
Because first of all, they're using private vehicles, unfranchised vehicles. So, meaning to say, you could just, if you own a vehicle, you just sign up online. And then they'll give you passengers. So, who regulates these vehicles? Who regulates the numbers? Yeah. Who regulates the fees that they charge? Unlike taxis, we operate using a meter system. If you charge a passenger at a higher rate, we get a complaint for overcharging or contracting passengers. But that's what Uber partners are doing. They're actually contracting passengers because who authorized them to give the rates? So wouldn't that be also contracting?
Yep.
They tell the passengers, okay, from here to Makati, this is how much you pay. Wouldn't that be contracting?
Yep.
Brian?
With regards to Uber, I agree with Bong with the use of private vehicles. Now, if they partner with taxi fleets, if they partner with existing franchise holders, then it levels the playing field. It gives them, kumbaga pwede mong habulin if something happens. But with private vehicles, and a disclaimer nga on the Uber app when you book a taxi says Uber is not liable. And there has been incidences, not in the Philippines but in the US. There has been incidences where an Uber driver hit a child and killed the child, and Uber denied liability. Said the liability was all with the driver. So where does it stop, right? In the recent and in last week, there was a flurry of news articles coming out on Uber questioning its ethics as a company, it's taking the startup culture a bit too far and overboard. So there's a lot of talk about this, and I think when there were congressional committee hearings last week, that was the crux of the discussion. Who oversees this type of service, where it's very clearly a service that involves the public, a public service. So who oversees it? Who regulates it?
Yeah.
Where does the government
precisely,
step in?
we have these kinds of businesses that flourish or that are successful kahit pa paano, no? Because there is a vacuum that they are filling, hindi ba? That you guys are filling. I mean, you provide that service na kulang, hindi ba?
I can't say na kulang eh. Like,
you can't say na kulang?
Yung sa akin kasi, Pia, like, we have nothing. Taxi operators, rent-a-car owners have nothing against Uber. Have nothing against the use of the application or the use of technology to pick up passengers. The only thing we're asking for is a level playing field. Fairness. If we are regulated as a transportation company, then shouldn't they also be regulated? For example, I cannot just buy vehicles and ferry passengers. I'm not allowed to do that because the law tells me I cannot use private vehicles to ferry passengers. I have to wait for my franchise to be approved before I can use my vehicles to ferry passengers. Why is Uber exempted? Why are they tolerated? Now, sasabihin nila, no, because they have better vehicles. I have 20 vehicles in my garage, brand new vehicles, sitting there for 4 months now. These vehicles we purchased so that we could change the old running taxis to the newer one. But the law does not allow us to just put the existing plates and transfer it to the new vehicles. We file a petition. A petition, well, it takes 2 to 6 months. But regulations require us to first purchase the vehicle before we could file the petition. So in the meantime, I'm paying the bank for all the vehicles that we purchased, but it doesn't earn money. It's there. I have to wait because I have to follow the law.
Yeah.
So is that fair?
And then Uber can just go and...
Yeah. You just register it then you could just pick up passengers.
All right.
It's not just
Wait, we'll take a short break. Please stay with us. News.PH will be right back. Welcome back. This is News.PH. Still with us, Danielle Torres, Country Manager of EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, Managing Director, GrabTaxi, and Attorney Bong Suntay, President, Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. Brian, you were saying before we had to go to a break.
Yeah, it was just on the regulation, on the pricing also of taxis. The reason you mentioned the Uber filling a market gap, right? The prices Uber charges, if you look at their app, they charge half of what the taxi charges on a per kilometer basis. If a taxi can, and Uber can do that, they can lose money on it because they keep raising money. They've to date raised what, 2 billion at the valuation of 18 billion. But they've raised maybe $2 billion. So they can lose money on every vehicle to wipe out the taxi operators because they can charge lower rates because again, it's not regulated. But during rush hour, during surge pricing, their prices can go up to 6 times of what they charge.
Well, we wish we had Uber here or a representative, but like I said, they said they weren't available. Okay, go ahead.
So it's a very dangerous path that this can lead, right? It's essentially a price war. It's you drop the price. It's dumping. In FMCG, it's dumping, which is regulated by law. So you can't dump the price to wipe out all your other competition because they need to adhere to regulations. And then at the end of the day, you're the only one left, and then you become a monopoly. That's what they're trying. I mean, I'm speculating here, but I think that's where it's going to lead.
Heading,
Yes.
And they can do that because, the Uber doesn't own vehicles. They do not employ any drivers. So the partner, the owner of the vehicles, they don't have any overhead. Unlike legitimate cab companies or rent-a-car vehicles, we're required to have our own garage. We're required to buy our own vehicles, then employ your own mechanics, technicians, cashiers, dispatchers, pay taxes, and regulatory fees. So we have a big overhead.
Okay. Well, how are they able to begin operations here in the Philippines anyway?
Online.
I mean, that would have been a perfect question for the Uber representative, but
Online.
not here.
I mean,
Online
usually
land,
they just come to the country, analyze the market, and they make a couple agreements with private companies and start rolling out the marketing.
From what I'm aware of, they started operating in the country September 2013, last year. And the way they enter the market, because we've been studying their model as Grab, because they're competition to us at the end of the day. So the way they enter the market is first partner with rent-a-car companies. So which are licensed, franchised and everything. But later on, they start dropping those rental car companies or stop acquiring rental car vehicles and start going private. So if you actually go on Google and search Uber, one of the ads there is not download Uber so you can get a ride. It's do you want to earn more money, become an Uber driver, which targets people like me. I'm a private driver. I can have my car be driven by, I can hire someone to drive my car and my car can start making money. That's not regulated. So they have unhindered growth because they have no regulation.
Okay. All right. Let's show this report that Patricia De Leon did and which we aired during Network News. This is about the problems that hound all these taxi operators.
Passengers have reported more than 3,000 complaints against taxis to the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board. Out of this number, only 193 cases have been resolved. The top 3 complaints reported are refusal to convey, contracting passenger, and rude behavior of taxi drivers. Just this week, 2 hold-up incidents involving taxi drivers were reported. One allegedly stole a motorcycle from a traffic enforcer as he left the scene of the crime, while another driver supposedly shot his passenger. With the recent series of taxi holdups, the LTFRB will issue tamper-proof identification cards to more than 54,000 authorized taxi drivers in a bid to screen and discipline them. These IDs will contain the driver's name and picture, company name, and a barcode containing the history and track record of drivers. Passengers may eventually scan this barcode with their smartphones through an application still being developed. The ID, which is full of security features, will be posted inside taxis. The memorandum circular is set to be out by next month.
Gagawa tayo ngayon ng accreditation and creation ng database ng mga taxi drivers para alam namin kung sino ang mga authorized drivers.
Teams will be deployed to the offices of taxi operators to fast-track the process.
Pwede kaming mag-deploy ng mga mobile na mga teams para doon mag-apply, doon sila mag-secure, kumuha ng mga photograph at doon na rin ang printing dahil lahat naman ito ay magagawa. Pwede rin hong mag-apply through online.
The Philippine National Taxi Operators Association says an ID system must be carried out to other modes of transport as well.
Pamamaneho mo ba yung auto na worth more than 600,000 sa tao na hindi mo man lang chinek kung anong klaseng tao siya? Pagka na-hold up ang pasahero sa amin, sasagutin namin yung liability kung magkano yung nawala sa pasahero.
Suntay says as an operator, he goes through the tedious process of screening drivers by requiring them to have clearance from the barangay and the National Bureau of Investigation, as well as doing background check on them. Some commuters are doubtful the ID system is a foolproof solution to crime involving taxi drivers. They say they'd rather be cautious and vigilant.
Sa ganitong season, ma'am, talagang natural na napakarami pong masasamang loob na kahit na taxi driver ka na talagang maraming hold-upper na rin.
Ang turo ko sa anak ko pag sumakay ng taxi, i-text ka agad yung plate number ng taxi. Tsaka lagi pong alerto, kailangan po wag silang matulog.
The LTFRB advises commuters to check the windshield of taxis if these vehicles have the recent confirmation sticker. In case something goes wrong, it would be wise to call the agency's hotline. Patricia De Leon, 9 News.
Bong, Suntay, tell us what you think about that LTFRB plan to have IDs for taxi drivers.
No, actually, we welcome it. In fact, as early as the time of Chairperson Len Bautista, we were asking them to professionalize the taxi drivers by coming up with yung authorization or ranking system for them. Kasi ang nangyayari, that's why it's very hard to discipline drivers. Most of the penalties are imposed against the operator. So, dati pa sinasabi na namin sa kanila, hey, can you please qualify? Pagka violation ng driver, you impose the penalty on the driver. Pagka violation ng operator, you impose the penalty on the operator. Kasi kung lahat ng violation, regardless kung sino, kanino nang galing, dun mo sa operator i-impose. They will not learn. For example, if a taxi driver make complaint na refusal to convey, ang penalty imposed sa operator. So kami, sasabihin namin sa driver, may complaint ka, refusal to convey. Hindi ka na pwedeng suspended ka, hindi ka pwedeng maglabas sa amin. Ang gagawin lang ng driver, lilipat sa ibang taxi. Or, pagka nakadalawang complaint at tatanggalin namin, okay, may dalawang complaint ka na, you're banned from taking out our vehicles. Pupunta sa labor, illegal dismissal naman. So, so hopefully, this ID system, they accredit drivers. Then they'll tell, operators, public utility vehicle operators na if the drivers do not possess the ID, you cannot allow them to drive for you. Then pagka nagkaroon ng complaint, then they penalize the driver using it. They could confiscate or suspend the ID.
Okay. We just wanted to repeat no response from Uber. We've been trying to call them, but they're not picking up the calls anymore. Let's go through some comments posted on Facebook from Ari Ching. It's important to differentiate between private or public vehicles. LTFRB's mandate involves public land transport. It's a stretch to say that the service provided by those who rent out their car via Uber is of a public nature, since one, it is a private vehicle, and two, it is only available to app subscribers and not to the general public naman. Iba na kapag GrabTaxi at EasyTaxi.
I don't see any difference.
Yeah.
They're also a tech company.
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference is that they don't pick up street hails. But
Street hails meaning?
Meaning yung kumakaway sa kalye. But Uber still picks up people who would have ridden in a taxi anyway. So it's people who look to access a public service.
And the public service law and the Land Transportation and Traffic Code is very clear. You cannot use private vehicles to ferry passengers for a fee. Once you ferry passengers for a fee, then it's now covered with public interest.
Yes.
I think for the daily average passenger, at the end of the day, he has to or she has to feel protected. Someone's going to respond. Someone's after this, right? And I feel like it seems with Uber, it's just everything's pending because they're not really working with regulated cars. So there's not really a support for the passengers, for the safety of the passengers.
Okay. Another comment from Joseph Pascual. I think there is a middle ground somewhere for the LTFRB to be able to do its job at making sure land transport around the country flows smoothly while allowing independent networks of private individuals to find their own ways to travel. There are other points of weakness which the LTFRB seems to ignore, like buses, redundant routes, or bus lines which have too many buses on the road. I personally feel like the LTFRB is meddling in a development they feel financially excluded from. Wow, that's loaded. And not really trying to help our citizens move around with more ease. This would have been a nice question, or for LTFRB to answer. So, well, I'll just ask you guys to comment.
No, for example, as I mentioned earlier, nothing against the use of technology in picking up passengers. We just hope that the passengers out there understand. Now, the reason why we're complaining is because the only thing we want is a level playing field. We're highly regulated. Now, okay, if you want them to operate without regulations, can we also have the same thing? Can we also be allowed to operate without regulations? Can you also authorize us to charge varying rates depending on the time of the day? And can you also allow us to use private vehicles so that we don't have to wait for the approval of LTFRB? Now, if DOTC will say na, sige, as long as you use brand new cars or new cars, pwede niyong gawin, then okay, we won't complain anymore.
How much is an LTFRB franchise for the taxi?
Now, there's a moratorium on the issuance of franchise, so it's closed.
Yeah.
But the last time it opened, it's 30,000 per unit.
Per year,
Per
or
unit.
just that's a one-time fee?
Just a one time.
One time.
But you pay regulatory fees. And
Regulatory fees meaning how much?
supervision fees.
Iba pa ba yung regulatory sa supervision?
Yeah.
What's the difference
Madami.
besides the spelling?
Well, every twice a year we have to bring our vehicles for meter calibration.
Okay.
Then you pay regulatory fees for the calibrations.
Okay,
Because,
so that's a
they
regulatory
check
law.
it.
And then the
Yeah.
supervision is?
Every year when you register your car, so they have to check and issue a new authorization, a certificate for the taxi unit.
Okay.
Then that you pay
How much is the
supervision
regulatory fee?
fee. I think 1,000
Okay, supervision
per
fee.
vehicles. Then around 3,000 plus.
Are there other fees that you pay?
Yeah. Well, registration, penalties. When if kunyari na late yung pagpa-reseal mo ng meter mo, you get penalized 500 pesos a week until na mapa-calibrate mo yung meter mo.
Yeah. Have you been able to track how much, I mean, are you, wait, let me backtrack. Are you losing money because of Uber, for example, or other?
In a way, yes. Most
Yeah.
especially the drivers. Now the drivers have to work harder because Uber, like Uber X,
Yeah.
is competing with
Yeah.
our taxi drivers in picking up passengers. For example, airport metered taxis. They have to pay concession fees to queue in the airport. They cannot jump the line. They have to queue. Uber, using unmarked vehicles, can jump the line.
Okay.
They don't need to pay concession fees because they're in the guise of private vehicles. So yung passengers coming out from the airport would just click on their app, okay, I need a card. Madaming sasakyan dun sa labas. So they just give out the plate number. So yung pasahero coming out from the airport, hahanapin lang yon.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
kawawa naman
Okay.
yung mga taxi
Yeah.
drivers, yung
So
airport
can you put a
drivers.
number that in terms of losses, you know, how, like kung nag-umpisa ang Uber started in September, so like how much have you been losing?
Maybe 20% of yung passenger rides.
20%. Okay. We'll take a short break first. We'll be right back. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to News.PH. I'm Pion Tavera. Still with us, Danielle Torres, Country Manager, EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, Managing Director, GrabTaxi, and Attorney Bong Sunday, President, Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. Question from Lily. How come they charge 50 pesos on top pero mabaho at sira-sira ang cab? Cab smells bad and it's run down. And then a question for Grab and Easy.
Okay, for EasyTaxi, we actually haven't charged a booking fee for about 4 months.
You have not?
We haven't.
Why not?
Well, what we're trying to do is we want people to use the service first, to let people know that EasyTaxi is here in the Philippines, and to get as much as feedback as possible from them, so we can improve the service. And once we start charging this booking fee, then they feel that they're actually paying for something that is worth.
And what are your cabs like? Do they smell good? Are they?
So part of the screening process in the selection of drivers is we see the condition of the car. We make sure it's clean, it's presentable for to do the job.
Okay, so you don't have, as they said, mabaho at sira-sirang cab?
I mean, yes, I'm not going to say all our cars are in perfect conditions, but we try to keep a minimum standard when it comes to...
Okay. Brian?
We actually charge 70, not 50. But there are promotion periods. So, for example, I think it started a couple of weeks back until next week. There's a promo code that you enter, ho 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 ho, when you book a taxi.
Ho.
So it's a Christmas promo.
Just
where there's
Ho, ho,
no,
ho,
so
okay.
it takes away the booking fee. So it's a free ride. So there are promos like that to entice people. Now, with regards to charging a booking fee, the way we view our service, we're a concierge service. It's like you paying the guard to go down and hail a taxi for you, but now you're doing it yourself on your phone. Even some of the operators who have numbers you can call to order a cab from, they're also booking fees. So there's precedence for charging booking fees when you call a cab. And this is the same in other countries as well. Now, with regards to the condition of the cabs, we take priority over the drivers. Now,
what do you mean by you take priority over the drivers?
we take priority over selecting good drivers, but also be mindful of the kind of vehicles, condition they drive. But in some cases, the older cars, correct me if I'm wrong, Bong, so older cars, the boundaries are lower. They're cheaper. So the good drivers choose to drive the older cars. They're also a bit more efficient. Like if you use LPG cars, they're also a bit more efficient than the gas cars. So they take home more at the end of the day. So if we were to choose, would we not let that driver into the system? I don't think so. We'll still let the driver in because he's been with the taxi company for a long time. He's a good driver. He pays his boundary. I mean, he's very pleasant to talk to. We're not gonna say bawal ka sa system kasi luma yung car mo.
And can I just explain kung bakit may mga lumang taxi pa? As I mentioned earlier, legitimate taxi operators, they should own their own vehicles. And now, you add the overhead expenses in operating a company. Siyempre, kailangan magkaroon ka ng a reasonable return on investment. You buy a vehicle. So, hindi mo babawi yung in 3 years yung pinambili mo ng vehicle. Sometimes it takes 5, 6 to earn a reasonable return. So, by the 6th year, siyempre, medyo pagod na yung auto. Yeah. But that's because you own the vehicle, di ba?
Okay.
It's not, parang, you can't just, after 2 years or 3 years, benta mo na, palitan mo, hindi ka pabawi eh. That's a problem with owning the vehicle.
Okay.
Because we're not allowed to just lease vehicles. It would be easier kung we just, if LTFRB allows us to lease vehicles na hindi registered under our name. So, after 3 years, pag medyo luma na, we'll lease newer vehicles. But that's not allowed.
Yeah, okay.
Because,
but do you have taxis in your fleet that na mabaho at sira-sira?
Hindi naman. We try to maintain...
Hindi naman. Medyo
we try to maintain a decent-looking fleet. Kasi big fleet operators, we have a name to protect, a goodwill to protect. So, as much as possible, gusto mo bago yung mga vehicles mo that are seen on the streets. So
answer the question.
Siguro, I cannot say na, wala kaming mabahong vehicle dahil depende kung anong sinakay ng pasahero.
Okay.
Pag may pasahero, may galing sa palengke at nagsakay ng isda, yung driver namin hindi pwedeng sabihin, hindi mo pwedeng isakay yan.
Pero yung mga sira-sira, rundown, wala namang laspag.
Because for big fleet operators, it's not worth it na papalabasin mo pa yung lumang sasakyan because the maintenance cost is higher.
Okay.
And we've seen cases as well of almost brand new cars, but inside, like Brian was saying, the driver doesn't really take care of the car. And I mean, it is a choice of what you give priority to, the safety of the passenger or just a nice looking car outside, right?
Okay. Another comment from, I think this is from Twitter, Gibson. I always get declined when the travel distance is only 2 to 3 kilometers. Anybody want to...
Well, I didn't get the question, sir.
Hindi naman siguro. I don't think so. It shouldn't be the case.
You mean taxi drivers, regular taxi drivers don't choose?
Dahil mas gusto ng taxi driver maiksi because the flag down is bigger than the succeeding rates. So pag maiksi, the drivers tend to earn more.
Okay. Yeah.
Even for GrabTaxi, because we're able to see the distances of the fares of the rides. Kasi nilalagay mo yun kung saan ka magagaling at saan ka pupunta. So we know the distances. A lot of the distances are the shorter distances. So baka nagkataon lang na the person asking rush hour, mahirap talaga kuha ng taxi or...
Okay. Another comment from Tisha Doris. Please tell LTFRB chair, he's not here, sorry. Finally rid streets of illegal, dangerous rides like habal-habal and tricycad in Cebu. Muna. From Enjoy, @Enjoy RDJ, kung hindi ba choosy, rude at delikado ang ibang cab drivers, I would gladly support them. From @Chrissy628, I appreciate that Uber actually sends you the name of driver before pickup with previous evaluation in his number. You're about to react, Brian?
Yeah, we do that. Both Grab and Easy also do that. When you book a taxi, so the way the system works, when you click book, it sends a signal out to drivers within a certain vicinity from where you said you want to get picked up. Now, those drivers will, if walang pasahero, they will try and get the job. The guy who gets allocated to you is the guy nearest to you. Unlike radio dispatch system, it goes out to an entire fleet. So the nearest guy goes, the guy who gets picked, you get the picture of the guy, the name, the plate number, and you can even call him the phone number.
Okay, we'll have to take a short break. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. You're still watching News.PH. Still with us, Danielle Torres of EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, GrabTaxi, Attorney Bong Sunday, Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. A comment on Facebook, Aliyah Sawadjaan. Before LTFRB seizes the operations of Uber, GrabTaxi, and other similar transportation services, they should first consider why many Filipinos prefer these than over ordinary taxis. Safety and convenience, number one reasons. Why Uber is an effective alternative to taxis, I think she also is referring to your companies. LTFRB should take note from these companies on how they ensure the safety of their passengers. Just because a taxi is registered under them doesn't automatically guarantee the safety of its passengers. Comments?
There's a lot that happens in the background that people don't see, and one of the things that we work on is training the drivers about good customer service. We introduce drivers to technology as well. We teach them how to use a phone, and we use this system of rewarding their good customer service in order for them to keep doing the same. And this is something that it takes a lot of work. Probably takes in our teams like probably 80% of our energy, just training drivers and acquiring drivers. But this is obviously it automatically doesn't mean that because the driver is with us is a good driver, but definitely people should consider that there's a lot going on
What is your reward system for drivers?
We change it all the time. We have what we call weekly promos or monthly promos. We're specific. Let's say now that Christmas is about to come, we have parties for them. We go to the garages and we have events. We bring famous DJs from radio stations, things like this.
And can I say that? I think it's unfair to compare both the services of Uber and regular taxis at this point. Regular taxis has been operating since the early 60s. And mas madami yung number niyan. Uber started last year. Siyempre, hindi pa ganun kadami yung complaints. But after allow them to operate for longer time, then dadami rin yung complaint. Ganun din, di ba? Cellphone provider natin, nung una, tuntua tayo. But now, I'm sure dami nating complaints. Bad signal, drop calls. Because mas dumami na yung gumamit at mas matagal na yung service. Then naiipon. Okay. At this point, di ba? 50 years as up against 1 year, parang naipon na syempre yung complaints nung isa.
And also the sheer volume, right? There's, like Bong said, there's 27,000 taxis. Each taxi does maybe, for the driver to make a decent living,
an
he needs
average
to
of 35 pickups a day.
35 pickups. So how many?
35?
600,000, at least 600,000 rides being ferried. If there's 3,000 complaints in the last quarter against 600,000 a day na rides, I'd say those are pretty good odds na complaints. Right?
And most of them are small complaints.
And if you look at the top two complaints, contracting passengers and refusal to convey.
Nothing to do with safety.
Nothing to do with safety.
But everything to do with?
But contracting passengers, as I mentioned earlier, that's what Uber vehicles are doing. They're contracting passengers. Refusal to convey. They also refuse to convey. If the driver of the vehicle is not near the passenger, he doesn't pick up the fare, the ride.
Yeah.
So, but because they're unmarked,
isn't that because you need to give them the service right away, hindi ba?
Ganun rin yung taxi eh.
Oh.
But the thing is, sabi nga, parang that's two different set of rules. Pag ang taxi driver may pasahero nilagpasan dahil may pick up siya sa ibang lugar, refusal to convey because marked vehicle yan eh. Now, kunyari may Uber vehicle na nasa harap mo but hindi ka sinakay, you wouldn't know it's an Uber vehicle. It doesn't have any marking.
Okay. A comment. Well, two comments here from on Twitter, no, at Mike in Manila. Mike Cohen. Hey, Mike. Hello. Think we know you. This is nice. When will someone come up with Grab Bus or GrabFX? Oh, are you thinking na? The two of you? Pre-booked seats for commuters. I'm sure telcos would jump aboard. And then he follows it up with, imagine if commuters could also prepay for seats on an FX or bus using an app from their phone, load, or bill.
Give me 3 months.
3 months? 3 months? Tagal.
Well, that's actually a good idea. I mean, but the difference between the apps we're working on right now, GrabTaxi, versus applying it to buses or to jeepneys. Buses, jeepneys have a fixed route.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to summon them to where you are. And the way the buses are structured, yun, may nakatayo, may nakaupo, it's very hard to put technology. Sa taxi drivers, which are...
How can you put technology? Seat, no seat. Seated, standing.
There's so much to do still in the taxi industry. So much to fix. Like I said, a lot of education comes with it.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much the only application that focuses on taxi drivers only. And we don't want to lose focus on what our mission is.
No, but I'm sure people appreciate what you're doing, no? Because we do have a problem with our mass transit system. And you are filling that vacuum, right? You are filling that need.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Another comment from at Falcon73. There is nothing wrong with regulation as long as LTFRB effectively polices bad taxi drivers. Hindi, hence backlash.
That's what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They also have to police the drivers. Hindi puro operator lang. Dahil kung puro kami lang, how can we teach the drivers?
Okay. From at S. Rances, I use Grab and Easy and find them very helpful. Saves me time. Family can track where I am. Saves me from isnabero drivers too.
Yeah. This is what we're here for, you know,
There's
for the community.
Yeah, there's a feature in our app when you're in the taxi, you can actually share your ride with your... So it enforces the whole safety aspect. You can share your ride on Facebook, Twitter, SMS, email.
Parang carpooling? Is that what
No, it's not sharing the ride. It's sending sending your loved one information on the taxi you're in, and you can even
because that's what people
online.
do on regular taxis. The minute they ride, they're so scared.
Text
they send
text
You can just take a screenshot as well. And as we mentioned, you have the picture of the driver and all the information.
Correct.
Okay. Bong, you want to say something?
Nothing against Grab and Easy, as I mentioned.
They're not here. Okay, any other comments to read? I think we've ran out of the comments and ran out of time. Thank you very much, our guests. Final words along. We have 3 minutes. Danielle, you first. Let's give Bong the last say. Yeah.
You know, we're in 33 countries around the world. And we have learned a lot from being out there, talking to drivers every day, making sure all our operations are flawless. And this is pretty much the proposition and the mission that we bring here to the Philippines, is to bring the best of EasyTaxi. And for all the passengers and people who use EasyTaxi, we definitely expect your comments, because this is the only way we're going to improve the service.
All right, thank you. Brian?
Just very happy with the reception of GrabTaxi. In the last year and a half we've been operating. We're now in 3 cities, Manila, Cebu, and Davao. And we have constant promos for passengers, especially this Christmas season. We understand how difficult it is for passengers to get taxis, and they just want to get home to their loved ones. So we're always aware that it's a two-sided platform. So we give promos to passengers, but also reward drivers who behave well. Actually, to date, we've suspended 500 drivers in the platform who have tried to game the system or have received complaints.
Game the system meaning?
Game meaning we give driver promos. If they try and book by themselves just to get the promos, we also suspend that, because that's a sign of maybe worse behavior to come later on. So we take care of a lot of the integrity, and we're very happy with all the taxi operators that we're we're partnered with and the support that they've given
I
us.
like that. What you say, you take care of the integrity.
Yeah, it's important. It's
Very important. Very important. Okay, Bong?
Yeah, we have nothing against the use of technology to pick up passengers. In fact, we're very happy that the use of technology has made hailing a cab or getting a cab easier. The only thing that taxi operators, rent-a-car owners are asking for is a level playing field. Fairness naman in regulation. Our industry is highly regulated. So sana, if someone else comes in and gives the same service, meaning ferrying passenger, let's also apply the same regulation. Now, if we say, let's not apply those regulations to them, then sana we're also given the same privilege. Deregulate us. Allow us to manage the fare, allow us to use vehicles which are leased out or borrowed from someone else. Yung equality lang in the application of laws and regulations. That's the only thing we're asking for. And to the passengers, well, sana wag din natin kalimutan that, you know, taxi drivers and taxi cabs has been serving our country for a long, long time. Wag yung puro reklamo lang yung nakikita natin. But sana we also acknowledge the service that it has brought us.
All right. Thank you very much. To our guests tonight, Danielle Torres, Country Manager, EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, Managing Director, GrabTaxi, Attorney Bong Sintay, Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for watching. This has been News.PH. I'm Pion Tavera. See you again next Wednesday. Good night.
An issue all the time. But with network systems like EasyTaxi or GrabTaxi, it depends on how many taxis are within the vicinity of where you ask where you ask to be picked up.
Yeah.
So if there's liquidity, so that means there's a lot of taxis. It can be as short as a minute, but sometimes it could take maybe 10 minutes for a taxi to arrive.
Okay, so you have a fleet of franchised vehicles.
We don't have a fleet. We work with
You don't have a
fleets.
fleet.
Yes. Like
What do you mean by that?
We work with the existing taxi operators. So there's around, they say, 500 taxi fleets in Metro Manila.
Okay.
There's around 25,000 taxis
Yes,
operating
25,000.
in Metro Manila. And we partner with these fleet operators who have accredited franchises from the LTFRB.
Okay, but none of them are the ones involved in crime, for example. I'm sure you've heard of all those incidents already, di ba?
Correct. So we have a strict recruiting process with the drivers. We make sure that they have barangay clearance. We make sure that their licenses are not yet expired. We work with the fleet operators, the managers of the fleet, to check on the history of the driver. So they should be paying their boundaries.
So kasama kayo sa recruitment ng driver?
Yes. We select the drivers.
Yeah.
Not all the drivers are given phones. We also treat the phone kasi as a form of discipline for the driver. So if you behave well, you'll be given a phone in which you can.
Good evening, this is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pion Tiveros. Should the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board regulate Uber, GrabTaxi, EasyTaxi, and other similar transportation services? That's our big question tonight. Tonight we have with us Danielle Torres, Country Manager of EasyTaxi Philippines, Brian Koo, Managing Director of GrabTaxi, and Attorney Bong Sunday, President of the Philippine National Taxi Operators Association. We did invite the LTFRB, three of them in fact, including Winston Hines, but they all declined due to a variety of reasons. We also invited a representative from Uber, and we're waiting to hear from them. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for being here.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us here.
How do you feel sitting together?
This wouldn't be the first time that Bong and I sat together, so we're pretty comfortable with it.
Taxi operators have nothing against Easy and Grab.
Yeah.
Only against?
Well, the use of Uber, its use of private vehicles to ferry passengers.
Okay.
Both Easy and Grab, they both use franchised vehicles to connect passengers with vehicles.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's begin with this first. Now, how can anyone get a ride on EasyTaxi and GrabTaxi?
Go ahead.
It's very simple. You go to the App Store or Google Play, and in your smartphone, either an iPhone, an Android phone, or a Windows phone, and look for EasyTaxi, and press download, and you can download it for free.
Okay. Then how long does it take before somebody can get a cab?
You just have to sign up. You just have to put your basic information, name, email, and phone number. And then the app automatically will locate you. You just pretty much put a reference on the location that you are, and you just press call a taxi.
So how many minutes before somebody can get a taxi? What is the time range?
It usually depends. It depends on, it's a supply-demand problem all the time.
Things like this are very common. But we haven't had any major...
When you say major, like a driver...
being aggressive or
hold up or shooting a passenger or...
No.
Wala namang ganun.
Wala, nothing.
Thank God, or else you're in trouble. Brian, you were saying that there were at least 4 complaints. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there are 4 complaints that I was personally involved in helping resolve. And these range from passengers thinking na modus operandi sila with the spray.
Like how? Bakit na modus operandi?
Nahilo sila during the journey.
Okay.
But what we do, we have a very strict policy to really investigate afterwards. Kasi ang hirap nung sabi-sabi.
Yes,
so
of course.
what we did is we called the taxis in immediately after the incident. We called the taxis in, we make sure we look at the taxi, we even involve the police to assess the taxi and really investigate what happened. We called the other passengers that driver picked up on the same day to see if there were similar complaints. And in all 4 cases, wala. Nothing. There was no foul play involved on the driver's side. And
you're sure?
Very sure.
You're very sure.
Because even the passengers who eventually went to the hospital to have themselves checked, the doctor said it was just panic attacks.
Panic attack. Okay. Hindi sa nahilo dahil hindi pa siya kumain.
It's very dangerous because earn more income from. That's how GrabTaxi.
Has there ever been a complaint sa inyo?
To be honest,
if any of your drivers, any of your vehicles, for any reason whatsoever?
To be honest, there has. We've received maybe 4 incidences, and we're very transparent about that. It's all on social media.
Yeah. What can you tell us? Okay, in a while. No, let's go back to that. Yung mga complaints. For you, Ms. Torres, so people can very easily get a cab. You work with. Similar to their
the same system
arrangement,
yes.
Same system. Okay,
yeah.
So you also help in the recruitment of the drivers.
Definitely.
You go through that.
So to add what Brian said, we definitely the importance of the partnership that we have with operators is that we get all their intelligence in the sense of the industry. They know the industry very well. They have a lot of experience with taxi drivers, so what we get from them are the best drivers possible, so we can offer the best service.
Have there been any complaints against any of your drivers or about any
minor
vehicles?
complaints mostly.
Yeah.
Minor complaints.
What do you mean by minor complaints?
Sometimes, let's say we have a special promo and the driver didn't find out about it, and he charged the booking fee that he wasn't supposed to charge.